Hello, it's John Heaton, and today I'm going to look at a film about John Lennon starring Christopher Eccleston as John Lennon. But before I do that, a couple of things to show you, stroke stories to tell. I was watching Doctor Who and the Sensorites last night, which is from 1964, William Hartnell. And just towards the end of the final episode, the senior Sensorite is talking to Barbara, I think, and he says, "You have a tremendous thirst for adventure, a wanderlust." And that got me thinking, is this word wanderlust a word? So I looked it up, and sure enough, it derives from the German, the word wandern and the word lust, and it means a keen desire to travel. And there was me thinking it was just the name of a boat that Paul McCartney wrote about in his song Wanderlust. And interestingly enough, when Paul sings it, he pronounces it Wanderlust with a U kind of pronunciation, but the correct pronunciation of the original word is Wanderlust. So I thought that was quite interesting, and also Stevie Wonder, spelt with an O, is pronounced with a U. But anyway, I thought that was interesting because I didn't know it. I mean, I feel a bit ashamed, but I didn't even know it was a word in the English language. So there we go. So, and then that got me thinking about other. Like a band like Adam Ant spells the word adamant if you put it together and stuff like that. One could have a field day looking at the origins of the names of bands and stuff. The other thing I wanted to show you is what I consider to be a very good example of value for money with new vinyl. And this is the 2006 copy. Look how beautiful the hand is there. I don't know if you picked that up on the camera. A lot of care has gone into this 2006 release, and if you see that George Harrison's signature is in bolder gold than the original, and also the hand is not embossed at all on the original, whereas it is here. And I didn't even know this vinyl release existed. I obviously picked up the CD when it came out, and the lovely gold lettering there, the same gatefold picture there, and it's the same vinyl, but this instead of the lyrics, this comes as the record sleeve, and then the lyrics are encased, among other things, in a 16-page booklet, which is just tremendous. I mean, I have this same booklet on DVD, or more or less the same, but here you can get 12-inch pictures of the outtakes from the gatefold picture taken on the same day, as you can see. Same house in California, I think it was. And here's the colour version of the gatefold. Tremendous to have this in full size. It's pretty nice on the CD packaging, but here it's even nicer. So I think this is a good example of real value for money in terms of buying new vinyl. Sometimes new vinyl, as we know these days, is overpriced, and one thinks, what's the point? But in this case, I thought it was a tremendous addition to my collection, and I'm really pleased to have that. So with no further ado, we will come on to the film we're talking about, which is this, Lennon, 2010. Came out on BBC4 in England, not sure which station in the States, but it was a TV movie, if you want to call it that. It was only 82 minutes long, and it mainly covered the period 67 to 71. They do have a short clip of 64. And one of the problems, well, before I get on to talk about the merits of the film, one of the problems is Eccleston is age 46 when he's playing the part of John, who was in his 20s for most of this film. But just before I go into the film, I've been a tremendous fan of Eccleston over the years. I loved him in Our Friends in the North, which is BBC Two, classic drama. I loved him in The Second Coming, which was 2003, I think, or 4. And then I loved him in Doctor Who, and here's my Eccleston figurine. So that's nice. And so I tend to seek out anything he's involved in, and this is a good performance. We'll come to my reservations a bit later. The cast also includes, I had fun spotting various people, so I recognise him. Rory Kinnear plays Brian Epstein. That's Roy Kinnear's son, Roy Kinnear having been in Help all those years ago. Andrew Scott plays McCartney, and Andrew Scott went on to play Moriarty in the Sherlock TV series. Alan Corduna is playing Arthur Janoff, and I recognise him because he plays Arthur Sullivan in the Gilbert and Sullivan film Topsy Turvy. What else? Christopher, I don't have his full name here. Christopher Fair something or other. Sorry about that. But anyway, he was in that German show Auf Wiedersehen Pet, however you pronounce that. And he was in one Doctor Who episode called Flatline, and he plays John Lennon's father, Freddie. And there's some pretty moving scenes in the movie, particularly between John and his dad, some of which is true maybe, and some of which is a little bit enhanced or exaggerated. They do say at the beginning that not all the scenes are factually 100% accurate, but I'll forgive most of that. Naoko Mori plays Yoko Ono, and she's famous for playing Tosh in Doctor Who and Torchwood. And here's my figure of Tosh from the Torchwood series. Great actress, and plays Yoko really, really well here. Apparently she had to have half a bottle of tequila to film the nude scenes, because she'd sworn to herself she'd never do nude scenes, and there are a couple of, I wouldn't say sex scenes, but there are a couple of scenes where she has to be nude in this film. Anyway, she does a good job. Anything else to mention? Yeah, there's a couple of scenes in the film where, like, there's a press conference to announce Magical Mystery Tour. Now, I don't think that with all four Beatles sitting behind a table with all the press, I don't think they did anything of the sort. So that's a little bit of fiction. And then there's also an Apple press conference to announce Apple with all four Beatles again present. As we know, in reality it was just John and Paul in New York announcing it. But this is fairly minor criticism. There's a meeting to discuss the White Album where Derek Taylor, of all people, is complaining about it being a double album. That doesn't quite ring true, because, as you probably know, on the back of this album, Yellow Submarine, Derek Taylor was asked to write the sleeve notes on the back, and he just reproduces an entire review from the Sunday Times of the White Album, singing its praises. And here he is in this film saying to John and Paul, well, some of these songs are not Beatles songs. And then Paul says, like what? And he says, well, like Julia or Blackbird. And then he mentions Revolution 9 as well. I can't really imagine Derek Taylor doing this. So it was a slightly annoying scene because it doesn't quite ring true for me. There was another scene where where John announces he's leaving the Beatles, and again George Harrison was in that scene, and by all accounts he was not present when John dropped that bombshell in September '69. So anyway, the LA Times said at the time, Eccleston playing the paired petulant John to the near exclusion of the talented, charming one. We are left with a portrait of a rich and prickly young man. Well, I agree with that. I think Eccleston puts in a good performance, but he tends to focus on the angry side of John more than the humorous or the loving side. And anyone who's watched the Get Back movie, for example, recently, can attest to the fact that Lennon was a multi-sided individual, and Eccleston is a little bit erring on that side. Having said that, The Guardian says what Eccleston gets spot on is the spirit of Lennon with all his complications, contradictions and demons. I don't know. I think it's a good performance, but as I said, you can almost tell it's Eccleston playing the part, if we're honest. And he doesn't sing either, which is not ideal. I mean, they used original music in this film, not original Beatles music, but there's a lot of original solo music. chosen. So Yoko must have given her permission for that to be used. But it's a slightly strange choice of material. Like when Yoko visits John in Weybridge for the first time, they play a little snippet of I'm Losing You, which I thought was a bit strange. Anyway, compare it to this film, the John and Yoko film, which was from 25 years earlier, 1985, only 5 years after John's passing. And this had Mark McGann in the title role and covers the whole period up to his death, and in particular focus on the Lost Weekend period, if I remember rightly. And Mark McGann also, well, not only does he sing songs in this movie, but he also did a stage show called Lennon in the West End at that theatre at the corner of Charing Cross Road and Tottenham Court Road, Oxford Street. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a good show. I went to see it 4 or 5 times, and Mark McGann was singing all the Lennon songs. But anyway, Eccleston doesn't really need to sing in this movie. He puts in a good performance, as I say. It ends with him leaving Britain to go to the United States and never to return. So it's just covering a certain period. It's particularly successful, I think, when it covers the hurt he was feeling surrounding his parents leaving him, and the resentment he felt towards his father when he met him when he was rich and famous, having not seen him for 17 years. And that rings quite true. But I didn't find any of the scenes particularly annoying, maybe with the exception of the alleged incident when Lennon went round to Paul's house and threw a brick through the window, which I know the fans or people there's rumours about it happening, but no one's confirmed it, and I think it's probably not true. But anyway, it's here in the film for all to see, so anyone watching this probably thinks it happened. On balance, I don't think it did, and also the timing of that. In Gilliana's book, the timing of that incident was the day of the court case being announced as won by McCartney, whereas in this film it's the day of the press release coming out accompanying the album McCartney, which was a good nearly a year apart from each other. Anyway, small criticism, as I say. Enjoyed the movie, would recommend it to you to watch. Eccleston is a fine actor, and Lennon's not an easy part to play by any means, and Eccleston does a good job. So that was that. Thank you for watching. See you next time.